Hello, and welcome to the 2021 online employee benefits meeting for Autism Learning Partners. This is for out-of-state employees. So if you are looking for a different meeting, we may have another video posted for you, but this is definitely for out-of-state employees. So as we go over this today, I will be your host. My name is Jonathan Rudnick. You might have heard me before. You may have even talked to me on the telephone. I'm one of the brokers in the office. There are quite a few. Most of you have primarily talked to either Chuck or myself, but I am going to give you the numbers in a few minutes so that you can reach out to us with any questions that you might have for this 2021 benefit year. So let's get into the swing of things right now and just go over what's new in 2021. So hopefully I don't have to keep you here too long and that you get the gist of what is going on. In 2021, yes, 2021. All right. Uh, it's hard to believe that we're almost in 2021, but yes, this is one of those years. In 2021, we are going to remind you that the HSA savings account limit is $3,600 for an individual and $7,200 for a family. Now, the HSA is not the FSA, so please don't get that confused. The HSA is a health savings account that is tied to a medical plan called an HSA, so you cannot have one without the other. And once again, this is the contribution limit. This isn't the limit of what you can actually have in your account. You may have money that's accumulated in there over the years. Another thing that is going to be new in 2021 is the PPO dental plan is going to contain a rollover benefit. So that is something for many of the people out there that say that they underutilize their dental PPO and saying, where does the rest of that money go? And so we'll get into that in a few minutes. And then hopefully you will see some of the good benefits that are coming your way for 2021 and how that'll help you in the future. Now, because this is the open enrollment period, this is really the only time that you're going to go ahead and be able to make changes to your benefits, move up, or down in plan benefit level without regard, right, to pre-existing conditions. One of the most popular questions that I get asked is, well, what if I'm unhealthy or what if I'm pregnant? Can I move to another plan? Yes, of course, you can make some of these decisions. If you do happen to be pregnant, there is a certain period of time where you cannot exceed, where the plan won't let you, move to different doctors. But that may not be affected by your plan. But please reach out to me if that's your specific scenario, so I can make sure that you will qualify to make some of those changes. I think they usually don't want you going past 26 or so weeks in terms of making a change to the doctor. But if you were just changing plans and getting the same doctor and just wanted to be on a better plan, I don't think that's going to be an issue. But please reach out to us with your questions. Now, how would you reach out to us if you were in one of these scenarios? Well, our telephone number is right here. It is 818-883-3282. To get a hold of Chuck Best, you hit extension 105 and the pound button. To get a hold of myself, Jonathan Rudnick, you hit 1760 and hit the pound button. To email him, though, right, the email address is listed here. This is how you would email Chuck Best. Charles M. Best at lafinservices.com. In order to get a hold of me, it is J like Jonathan, R-U-D as in dog, N as in Nancy, I-C-K at lafinservices.com. I will throw that number out a couple times, so don't worry, you'll definitely be able to track us down, and some of you may have our number saved from previous years. Who are the people that can be covered under your plan? Your plan can cover your spouse or domestic partner, your children, disabled dependents over age 26, and children named in a in a child support order. All right. Now, what happens if you miss open enrollment? Well, you definitely want to make your changes during open enrollment, because the only other opportunity where something will happen where you can add a dependent or take a dependent off of your plan, right, is during a qualifying life event. So this doesn't allow you to change your medical plan, right? This just allows you to add or take off dependents. Most of the time, common life events are marriage or birth of a child or loss of coverage. If your spouse lost their job for some reason, they would be able to come onto your plan and obtain medical coverage if they needed to. Now you want to go and notify us within at least 31 days so that we can start working on this change and get everybody into our system. That way you can get everybody in at the right timing and hopefully have a card in your hand as soon as possible. If you wait too long, you're going to be locked out of making changes, and we won't be able to get that dependent on coverage. So coming back to us after 3 months is going to be almost impossible for us to be able to fix that or get the person added on. And I'd hate for that to happen. So just remember, notify us as soon as possible, especially if you're going to put on a newborn or add them to your coverage. A lot of times, if significant surgeries have to happen on newborns, that's one of those things that they're going to require the newborn to have their own plan, basically, right, with their own deductible. That is the way that it works. So reach out to us if you have any questions. That was just a good example, so you know what to do. Keep in mind that if you are on the HSA plan, or if you're going to take it for this year, you will actually get a reimbursement of $200 if you show proof that you deposited $200 into your individual HSA this year, and up to $400 if you put yourself and a dependent or your family under the plan. So that's a great benefit that you get there. Both the PPO and the HMO are alternative options that you have. Each one of these is going to speak to you differently. It might depend on how you're going to go and utilize the plan this year. So that's why one may be better for you than another plan. Inside your benefits guide, we have the 3 plans laid out on one page. That is to make it easier so you can see how the plans are going to work for you. You have the traditional PPO, the HSA, and the HMO. Both the PPO and the HSA use the identical PPO network. So if you need to get doctors, but one of these plans is better for you, you will get the same opportunity to go to a provider on either of those plans. However, please note that you're using the Navigate network for the HMO, and that is going to be a different set of doctors. Super important when you're trying to get to the specific person that you want to see this year. That may be the most important thing to you. Whereas for other people, other employees, they may think that having either a lower deductible or better copays, that is going to be more important to them. So the value of the plan is driven by what is most important to you. So keep that in mind as you're going over these options, because you can definitely switch from one to the other. Under the traditional PPO, the deductible is $1,000 for an individual. Under the HSA, it is $2,000, and under the HMO, it is $1,500. Please note that under the PPO, there is an out-of-network opportunity. That means that you can see doctors outside of the network, but the deductibles are actually higher and separate from the deductible in network. So that will cost you more when you go to see these out-of-network doctors. Just know that you have the opportunity to do that. Under the HMO, you do not see that because they actually do not have the opportunity to go outside the network. The deductible for a family is $2,000 under the PPO, $2,800 under the HSA, and it is $3,000 under the HMO. Now, the out-of-pocket. Many people have gotten this confused with the deductible, but this is actually your stop loss. If somebody ever said to you, do you know how much is your maximum out of pocket you would have in 1 year before the insurance company kicks in and pays 100%, right? That is by looking at this number here. Individually, right, it's $5,000 under the PPO and $4,000 under the HSA, $5,000 under the HMO. All right. For a family, it is $10,000 in network, $8,000 under the HSA in network, and $10,000 under the HMO. I want to stop for a second, not because you're going to ask me questions, because you're not there, only I'm here at the moment. But here's a question that I could conceivably think will come up. The out-of-network, right, has separate deductibles and separate numbers here. So one of the questions you might have is, so what's going on when I go out of network? And one of the things that I want you to keep in perspective is that there is no contract with doctors when you go out of network. So there is a good chance that not only will you pay more, but it is hard to figure out exactly what you would be paying because the insurance company is going to pay that doctor what they would have paid an in-network provider, and you're going to be on the hook for the remaining amount. So when you're thinking that you see this cap here for the out-of-pocket, or even for some of the deductible amount here, just remember they're calculating the cost that they would have paid right to an in-network provider, and that may not help you meet some of these in the fashion that you might normally think they would. And so if there is some confusion about that, I would reach out to me, but it's good to know that definitely the costs associated with going out of network are a lot higher than going in network. Key point here. So definitely try and go in network if you can. The physician costs. Under the traditional PPO, it is $35 in network, and it is 20% after the deductible under the HSA. You will find that most of the things under the HSA are going to be subject to the deductible, and you will need to get over the deductible in order to get certain co-insurance or different parts of the plan. Under the HMO, it is $25 for the primary care doctor and $40 to see the specialist. Diagnostic lab and x-ray under the traditional PPO is $0, does not reflect against the deductible, and is 20% after the deductible under the HSA. So if you need a lot of lab and x-rays, as can be associated with certain surgeries and different things that you might have to do, you might want to think about being under the traditional PPO just to save some of that money, or under the HMO where once again the copay is $0. Pharmacy deductible. Under the traditional PPO, there is none. Under the HSA, you have to meet the medical deductible before these copays down below will apply to you. Under the HMO, there is also no deductible for prescriptions. Once you need to go get a prescription, please keep an eye on what tier your prescriptions are in, because that does affect your cost. Under the traditional PPO, it is $15 for tier 1, $35 for tier 2, and $50 for tier 3. Now, even though it says generic formulary under tier 1, please keep in mind that every once in a while, a prescription that's generic can sneak into tier 2 and may cost you more money. Hospitalization, one of the most important benefits, and one of the things that everybody was wondering about for this last year if they were ever to get into the hospital for whatever happens, right? Under the traditional PPO, it is a $100 copay plus 20% after the deductible. It is just a straight 20% after the deductible under the HSA, and it is 30% after the deductible under the HMO. All right, so keep that in mind when you're selecting your plan, because if you're going to have a baby, you just want to know what that's going to cost, in advance. This is the way to look at it. Outpatient surgery is a key benefit, and the way that you actually pay for it. That is because most of these knee surgeries, shoulder surgeries, foot surgeries, ankle surgeries, they all fall under outpatient surgery. So 20% after the deductible under the traditional PPO, and 20% under the HSA, and 30% after the deductible under the HMO. The emergency room. Under the traditional PPO, it is a $100 copay plus 20%. Under the HSA, it is 20% after the deductible. And under the HMO, it is a $150 copay without worrying about the deductible, right, under that plan. Emergency room, obviously a very popular place to go at 3 o'clock in the morning, right? But if you can avoid going to the emergency room and you can actually go to urgent care, you will save a little bit of money most of the time. Under the traditional PPO, it is a $35 copay. Under the HSA, it is 20%. And under the HMO, it is a straight $50 copay. A lot of times you will miss your doctor's appointment. This is a quick way to hopefully track down a prescription, right, if you need one. Especially if you're going into the weekend and you don't know exactly what you are going to do. You really don't want to be sitting around in the emergency room, especially with the pandemic at this moment. So anything you can do to minimize what's going on is a great thing. So earlier, remember I told you I would help you try and find a provider. I want to let you know that looking for providers under UHC should be relatively easy. Out of all the carriers that we deal with, and we deal with all of them in our profession, I will tell you that UHC is one of the easier ones to locate your doctor once you get used to it. You go to myuhc.com, you can follow our instructions here, right? You do not have to log in. You can definitely do things without having to put your information in there. You do want to make sure that you put which plan you are looking for. If you're looking at the Navigate HMO, make sure that is where you're looking. If you're looking for the PPO or HSA, make sure that you're looking under the Select Plus network. That is the same network, once again, for the PPO and HSA, and Navigate HMO has its own network that you're looking under. If you do not do this, you are going to find out that when you're going to for providers, that things won't show up correctly, and then you're going to end up having to select a new doctor or pay more money out of pocket when you thought your coverage was going to work one way and it actually works a different way. Also listed here, and this is going to force you to have to come back to this page. If you need to search for a dental PPO provider, this is how you do it. If you need to search for the HMO provider, which is also through UHC, this is the way you're going to do it. And a vision service provider is right here. Hopefully that's pretty clear. Like I said, I do believe that UHC's provider directory is one of the best in the biz. Some of them are just way more complicated. Once you do it the first time, I think you will be hooked forever. You might even decide to do this rather than playing a video game. All right, so let's take a look at some of our options here. All right, for most of you, for where you're located, outside the state, the PPO dental is pretty much your only option here. All right, and the good news is you can use in-network providers or out-of-network providers. But remember, right, that when you go out of network, the insurance company does not have a contract with that dentist, so you will typically pay more. I do know that in some states, things are not as expensive as in California, where I'm located, so that may help you and be an advantage, but just keep an eye because once again, they do not have a contract with the insurance carrier to protect you. PPO dental plans have a $50 deductible. That is a one-time a year deductible. You can see that it's a maximum of 3 per family, right? This usually only comes into play for basic or major services. So as we go down the list here, you can see how that's going to work. So if we're talking about diagnostic and preventative care, right, the plan pays 100%. That's typically going to be an oral exam, very basic x-rays, right, and your 2 cleanings a year. You may not have even gotten a cleaning this year. You definitely, if you can get in there and it's safe to go, I would recommend it. If they can catch something sooner, that will mean that it could be a filling rather than a crown, and crowns are obviously much more expensive, but also less fun when you're in the dental office. You'll notice that when you go out of network, the plan does pay 100%, but you are subject to the $50 deductible there. Now, basic services, that's fillings, root canals, perio work. That is 20% after the deductible. Now, you're only paying the deductible once. It's not each time that you get one of these services. So keep that in perspective as you go down the line. You're only paying 20%. The insurance company is paying 80%. Major services, right? You're paying 50% and the insurance company is paying 50%. What's a good example of things in major services? Crowns, right? One of the most expensive things that you can get done, right? Let's say your crown is $1,500. That means that you'll pay $750 and they'll pay $750, right? Your plan does have an annual max on it. So remember, once the insurance company has paid out all the money that they're going to pay out of the bucket of money they've given you every year, that's it. You will have to wait until the next year. So if you are on the plan right now and you have some work to get done and you can get in to see your dentist, you may want to get some of that work started now and have the rest of the work completed in 2021, just so you can get as much out of the plan as humanly possible. So now let's get down to the rollover benefit. If you are one of those underutilizers, and we were probably all underutilizers this year because most people were not going to the dentist or doing anything else, right? If you spend less than $1,000, right, they will add an additional of $600 towards next year's maximum benefit. That is perfect because that could help with a deep cleaning, that could help with an extra crown or a root canal, but it is extra money that is accumulated there for you. So if you are an underutilizer, just remember, get a couple basic things done. That'll be well under $1,000 if you do 2 cleanings and an oral exam, but get your work done and then you will still get money rolled over. So how about vision? Vision, once again, is with UHC. All right, so you're using their network to find a provider, right? It is a nationwide network, so definitely see if you can find somebody that's in network, because once again, you always get the best benefit if you do that. But you can go out of network because it is a PPO vision plan, so you're not stuck with just using their providers. Um, Vision plans have a frequency to them. The exam is every 12 months, right? The lenses are every 12 months, and the frames are every 2 years or 24 months. Normally, the vision provider will reach out to you and let you know when you're due for some of this stuff so that you can come in to see them. But that is the way of evaluating your plan. The other way that I look at it is also about how much is the premium, because if the premium is too high, you may not need the exam portion of the plan, even if you don't wear glasses. But we'll look at that in just a second here, and I'll let you know what I think. The exam under this plan, right, is a $10 copay and then covered at 100%. So even if the eye exam is $75 or $80, you pay the first 10, they pay the rest. All right. If you go out of network, they will only give you up to $40 out of network. Let's see here. Materials. You pay the first 25. They will give you then lenses and frames. They will give you single vision, bifocal, or trifocals. If you need some of the fancy stuff like transition lenses or some of the other things that they put on the lenses, that's usually extra, but this will usually get you in the door and start the conversation. They will give you up to $130 to spend on frames, and then the rest is going to have to come out of your pocket. If you go out of network, right, once again, that's reduced down a little bit, but you are still getting a benefit. Now, here's what I was talking about. The payroll deduction is a $1.35 here. I don't know how anybody could ignore this vision benefit. At a $1.35, you are going to beat the system no matter how this works, as long as you go get a vision exam. So I would recommend it, especially if your vision provider is taking good precautions. Go in and see them because you are getting tremendous value for the money that you're spending here. This is a reminder on the next page about HSAs and the contribution limits. Don't forget, before we wrap up, some of the stuff about some of the basic medical and ancillary benefits, that the HSA is not an FSA. On the next slide here in a minute, I will talk about the FSA, but the HSA is not a use it or lose it kind of scenario. It is one of these scenarios where your money can continue to roll over, right, every year. So you don't have to worry about having to spend that money. If you happen to put too much in, don't worry. You're going to get your tax deduction in one way or another, depending on what state you live in. Once again, consult a CPA or a tax advisor for that, and they will let you know how it's going to work for you. So let's see if my prediction is correct. It is, and here is the FSA. So HSA was health savings account, and FSA, right, as a flexible savings account. All right. The dependent care FSA, right, allows you to be reimbursed for day or custodial care expenses for children that are your federal tax dependent under the age of 13, and for a disabled adult, federal tax dependent that lives with you so that you or your spouse can work or attend school. So the maximum amount, right, that you can elect is $5,000. But what I want you to remember, right, is that your annual contribution here is divided up equally per pay period. So this is something that you're going to commit to at the beginning of the year, right, and honor for the rest of the year. The HSA is not exactly like that. The HSA, you can put in money at various and different times. You do not have to agree to put in $50 a month or anything like that. The FSA is use it or lose it. They will give you usually a little bit of extra time to use the rest of the money, but just remember, we were in a pandemic. Some of these things may or may not have applied to you about using money for the dependent FSA because things were different this year. So be cautious when you apply to put money in, as you don't want to have too much money in there that you are not going to use. I want to remind you that you do have a basic life insurance benefit. It is set up as one-time salary, right? I can't stress to enough, go in there, make sure that you have your beneficiary set up correctly. and that if you got married, that you updated to the new beneficiary, because sometimes that goes wrong and the wrong person gets the payout, and there is nothing that we can do to get that changed. So it's super important you go in there and look at it. Now, one of the things that have come up this year tremendously, as you all probably are thinking about, is voluntary life insurance. A lot of people will tell me that they have a friend in the business or somebody that they talk to about life insurance. My thought is this: you may have a friend, but you just have not gotten around to it or haven't signed the documents. Well, this has been a weird year, and you can see that unfortunately a lot of people have had heart attacks and strange things happen to them. My thought is go ahead, sign up for the life insurance. And the reason why I say that is because this is one way to get it until you get your own plan in place where you're not going to have to worry about it. It will always get paid through your paycheck, right? And then you can just count on it. And if something were ever to happen to you, and I definitely don't want it to, but these things would get taken care of. I can only tell you today that from the funerals that I've had to unfortunately go to in the last year, the minimum cost for a funeral is probably somewhere around $15,000, and that's pretty bare bones, right? It's not a $5,000 deal anymore, but don't forget some of the things that you have to take care of at home, like a mortgage, or rent or car payments, or all these different things have to be taken care of after something happens to you. And how is that going to happen? If you are a new hire going through this process right now, you can get up to $150,000 guaranteed issue. For people who are just applying for life insurance, there may be some questions that they need to ask you in order to get the coverage this year, if you haven't done it already. So short-term disability and long-term disability, these benefits are dramatically underrated. Most people will wave these off or not think that they're super important. I happen to think that they are one of the most important benefit sets that are out there. In the state of California, yes, you do have state disability, but unfortunately, in other states, it just depends, right, what you may or may not have. So I would double check and make sure how that's working in your particular state. Short-term disability may or may not be covered. If it is not, I would look at short-term disability as an opportunity for you, because how else are you going to get a paycheck when you are out, right? So I want you to take a look at it, look at some of the premiums for it, and make sure, right, what's going on. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Let me take that back. For out-of-state employees, this benefit is actually provided to you at no extra cost, so you are automatically enrolled to it. So my explanation of this, just retract some of that. You don't have to think about it so much because you're automatically going to be enrolled in it. But this is one of the things that the employer is doing for you so that you can make sure, right, that you are covered. All right. However, the long-term disability is one of these additional benefits that you can buy. Now, short-term disability never really lasts forever, right? And what happens is when that is done, right, especially if you don't have state disability helping you out and it's really just the short-term disability plan, right? Once that taps out, this is where long-term disability becomes one of the most important plans that you will ever have. Number one, it is not something that only lasts for a year or anything like that. This is a disability plan that can go up to Social Security normal retirement age. So it is a massive benefit, right? It's going to cover you for 60% of your monthly earnings. For most people, the maximum benefit is going to be $5,000. One of these things that's so important is, well, how are you going to get paid if something happened to you? And it wasn't just going to be a year. Now it's 2 years. Now it's 3 years. Maybe you can never work ever again, right? This is why this benefit is so important. It's also called paycheck protection. So there are a few other benefits that I'm going to talk about, and then we're going to wrap this up. There are a couple of benefits that maybe you haven't thought about in the past, but once again, these may be on your mind this year. There's a hospital indemnity plan. There are 3 different options: $1,000 benefit, $1,500, or $2,000. It is just like it says. If you end up in the hospital, depending on the choice that you make, right, you will either get $1,000, $1,500, or $2,000 benefit. Now, this benefit is paid directly to you. It does not go to the insurance plan. So if you needed to pay bills, absolutely go ahead, and that is what you use it for. It doesn't matter what is going on in your insurance plan or how much you paid for your hospitalization. This goes directly to you. Accident now, okay? Accident is another one of those plans. You never really know what's going to happen to you. A lot of times these accidents happen at home. You cut your hand on a glass, right? You just hurt yourself cutting down trees in the backyard. You never really know how this is going to happen. But this is actually going to pay you money anytime one of those things happens and you end up in a particular scenario. Now, more of it will be listed inside the portal because that's where the rest of the schedule is. But just as a highlight, if you end up in the emergency room, they're going to pay you between $100 and $200. They will automatically give you up to $200 a year by doing certain wellness things that you are already going to do, right? So check out what those do, and then you will actually be able to submit the claim to the insurance carrier and be able to get money for basically doing something you were already going to do. If you have to get a major diagnostic test, once again, because of an accident, they will pay you somewhere between $160 to $320. So take a look at that in the portal. There will be more to it. This is not the only thing that they pay for, but it is a decent benefit for you out there. Critical illness, another one that's been very popular in the last year just because the world has been so strange. Unfortunately, I have heard of too many young people having heart attacks. I don't know if it's because we're not working out enough while we're at home or what the deal is, but I don't even want to think about that stuff. But if you did have a heart attack or something happened to you, obviously that would be hard to work. And once again, you need money coming in. You're eligible to select between $5,000, $10,000, or $20,000 in benefit. And then if you did have a heart attack or an invasive cancer or you had renal failure, they would pay you 100% of that benefit. You can also enroll a spouse or a child in that just in case you wanted to do that. All right. One more benefit that the employer, other than the life insurance and the short-term disability provides you at no cost, is the employee assistance program. Just because these things are no cost to you doesn't mean that the employer doesn't pay for it. So this is a benefit that they are providing to you and they actually pay for. Here's the telephone number. The reason for this is there are going to be sometimes times in your life where you either have stress or anxiety, but there are certain questions that you cannot go to HR about and do not want to trouble them with. So you will go ahead and schedule a session to talk to somebody or figure out how you can get help by calling this hotline. And usually they will give you good direction on what the next steps to take are. And it's usually a great starting point. And I would always start here before you decide to do anything else. So here we are, you made it. I wish I had a buzzer. I wish I had a noise that would make you like the Netflix sound that would say, here, we made it to the end. But now that I put that Netflix sound in your mind, you will, I think, hear it subconsciously once you get to end of all of these open enrollment meetings in your lifetime. Here are all the pertinent numbers that you can go over for the medical and ancillary plans. But also, right, here is our number again. It is 818-883-3282. You can type in our name or you can type in our extension. Here is the email address for Chuck Best. My email address, because I am Jonathan, not Chuck, even though half the time you guys call us, I will talk to you for about 35 to 40 minutes. And then you will say, thanks, Chuck. And I'll say, but no, my name is actually Jonathan. Actually, if you actually get close to my name, I will be happy. Either if it's Jonathan, 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 I will be happy with it. So don't sweat it. My email address is J like Jonathan, RU, D as in David, N as in Nancy, ICK, at LA Fin Services. So you can definitely reach out to me and get a hold of me as well. Well, I hope you enjoyed this meeting presentation. It is here for your reference. If you have any other questions, reach out to us. We're here to help you. We're sorry that we couldn't be there in person. It would have been lovely to do so, but the way that the world is working at the moment has made it quite prohibitive for us to do things in a normal fashion. But once again, have a great day or evening and reach out to us with any questions that you have. Thank you.